resolution. AJP, Sally Ann is a two-time nominee for the Telstra Businesswoman's Award and is a Fellow of the Australian Institute of Management. Sally is currently assisting small businesses in regional Victoria recover from the recent bushfires. So please give a warm Venture Melton welcome to both Clinton and Sally Ann as they show you how to get things up and running post-COVID-19. Hope you enjoy.
Thank you, Peter. I thought I'd start today's session with probably what I believe will be the hottest topic in the next 12 to 18 months, and that's how we manage our cash flow to really not only service those deferred payments that we've started to make over the period of the shutdown, but more importantly, how we can build some contingency in our cash flow to enable us to move forward and take our business to the next level. So on the point of cash flow, I've basically provided what I think is a little checklist for people to run through in working with their accountant or their bookkeeper to really assess what their cash flow requirements are going to be post the situation when packages from federal government such as JobKeeper finish. So when they finish, we've then got to find somewhere in our cash flow how do we compensate for those assistance packages. So I think the first area I'd suggest you start looking at is your salaries and wages. And currently you've had, or most businesses have had the effect of the JobKeeper packages to enable you to keep your staff on board during the restrictions. But what also you need to be aware of is those payments that you make on behalf of your employees that typically go to the government, i.e. the ATO, at the end of each quarter as part of your quarterly BAS payments. So they are things like super payments, pay-as-you-go, and other GST collections, etc. So I'd urge you to, again, sit down with your bookkeeper and your accountant to work through just exactly what your cash flow requirements are going to be beyond the 28th of September, which is the current published date when JobKeeper is scheduled to end. The other areas which I think you should look at is if you've deferred any lease payments during this period, is to talk with your landlord or your leasing agent about how you're actually going to pay down those deferred payments. So you might want to negotiate a payment scheme with your landlord or your agent to enable you to not take that substantial hit of trying to repay all the deferred payments at one point in time. Also talk to your counsellor if you've deferred any rates or licensing or permit payments, and see if you can negotiate a payment plan there also. Similarly, the biggest area of cash flow requirement will probably be to have a negotiated repayment scheme for those deferred loan interest payments. If you have credit card that supports your business, and how any accumulated debt on your credit card is going to be paid down. So we'll go to the next slide. The other areas that you need to to look at contacting the ATO. Always a difficult proposition, and oops, we've just gone too far. We go back, Bruce, one slide, that's it, thank you. So you need to understand any deferred payments of GST, salary deductions and or tax. And this typically would be your current quarterly BAS payment, which would be for the 30th of June, and then again at the end of September. So again, if you had any sort of deferred payment plan with the ATO before the shutdown, then you really do need to renegotiate that such that, again, you can predict what your cash flow requirements are going to be going beyond the third quarter of this year and into the next year, financial year. Similarly, talking to your insurance broker about any deferment payments there, such as work cover, personal injury, motor vehicle, business, etc. And the other area is contacting your telco, energy suppliers and your material suppliers for any deferred payments or drawdowns of the stock commitments that you might have incurred during the shutdown. So I'll hand over to Sally now to look at the other aspect of adapting your business once you're on the other side of this pandemic. Thanks, Sally.
Thank you, Clinton. And next slide, please. Great, thank you. Can everyone hear me? Because I can only see Clinton at the moment. So this section is about adapting your business to the other side or the new way of doing things. And what we're hoping is that this will be quite interactive. So it'd be great if all of the participants can perhaps pop into the chat some answers to these questions that we've got up on the screen. So that will help other people looking at how each of you has addressed these particular situations. So the first question is, did physical and social distancing requirements change the way that you needed to engage with your customers? So we're hoping to see some responses come up in the chat to that, but also to get you thinking about how you went about that, because if we can support each other through this, that would be a fantastic thing. Also, do you need to change the physical setup or delivery of your products and services? So I know lots of people had to make lots of changes in the way that they actually went about delivering their services. For instance, we're doing this on Zoom, where it may have actually been a physical webinar, well, not webinar, because webinars are always online, of course, but it may have been a physical presentation in the past. And so what elements of your customer service delivery model do you need to change, if any? So has anybody got any good ideas about these things that they would like to share with others, how they've gone about things? All right, we might do slide number 2 then, please. Bruce? You, Bruce. That's great. Oh, great. Sandy's come up with some things. We offered contactless pickup, door pickup, I think it says. It's just slightly off screen. That's fantastic, Sandy. How did you find that? Was that difficult to adapt to? While you're responding to my question, I might just keep going with the slide because we are under a time constraint. So the next question, what does the new way of doing things mean for your business? Does it mean changing, like Sandy suggested, the contactless pickup and door pickup? Are there other ways that you've had to change the way that you do business? Perhaps you've had to diversify your business. Oh, Elizabeth here. You ask your domestic clients not to be at, hang on, I'll have to move this over, guys, so I can see, be at home when you do the clean or stay in one room? Excellent. And has that gone well? Sandy says it was not difficult at all. It gave people options. There you go. See how adaptable we can be when we need to be. That's fantastic, guys. Thank you for responding to that. So the next question is, how will you communicate these changes to your staff and customers? Perhaps somebody would like to pop up and say how they went about that, because there's lots of ways you can do that. You could do it via Facebook, however you normally contact your customers. You could take that out to them and say, this is how we're doing business now so that we can keep going. And what do these changes mean for your business promotion and marketing strategy? And that's probably one of the most important questions. How are you going to communicate these things? Via social media, excellent. We love to hear people are using social media, don't we, Clinton? That's great. That's keeping up
Yes.
this way. That's excellent. Emails are fantastic. That's terrific. Well done, Sandy. And I think now it's back over to Clinton. But listen, guys, if you've got any other questions that you want to ask, pop them into chat or the Q&A. That's fine. We'll be keeping up with that as well. Thank you. And over back to you, Clinton.
So one of the questions, sorry, am I coming through okay?
You are.
Thank you. One of the questions I constantly get asked is, how do I grow my business? But this is even more important question now that we're entering into this new environment. So my response to that question is usually, or typically, it's important to have a strategy and a plan to grow your business. So that the strategy is one part, which is the high-level roadmap, and the plan is the detailed steps that you're going to take to actually grow the business. So some of the questions I usually ask people about their strategy and plan is, what's the purpose of that strategy and plan to grow the business? Is it more sales, greater profitability, to add new products, new services, or generally change the way we engage with the customer? So it may be one or more or all of those things. So it's important to identify at the outset, that answer to the question of, so why are we doing this? So that's really, when I say must have a purpose, that's the purpose is really that answers the question of why are we doing it. So the other aspect of it is, what's the time frame that you have for growing the business? Now, very much dependent on your capacity to grow the business at the rate in which you would desire. So you really need to think about a realistic time frame. And typically, if you want to take your business to the next level, it can be somewhere within the vicinity of 18 months to 2 years, or even longer in some cases. So you need to think about those incremental steps that are going to allow you to grow the business over time. So the time frame is important. The other aspects are, so what is the key success factors and objectives for growing the business? So what do we hope to achieve by growing the business? So what are the key success factors, i.e. those things that are important, that really justify us growing the business? From a financial perspective, it might be, so what's the return on investment that I'm going to receive if I grow the business? And the objectives are really those clear milestones that you'll attain when you do grow the business. So if we can go to the next slide. So the key factor in your capacity to grow the business is really what resources, i.e. staff, new inputs, are required for growing the business. And this can be quite influential in the time it takes you to grow the business, because if you've got to bring on new skills, new staff, or you've got to bring in new technologies, that in itself will dictate the time it takes to actually grow the business. The other thing that it's really important to look at, so what are the risks in growing the business? People typically don't like to look at the risks, but at the end of the day, my philosophy is if you identify and manage the risks, you don't have any issues along the way. So it's important to identify upfront what those risks might be and have a strategy and a plan to address and mitigate those risks. The other important factor is, how am I going to fund this growth? Is it through existing cash flow? Is it through a capital injection? Or is it through an additional loan, for example? And the other important factor is that if you're going to have a project to grow the business, you really need to make time to manage and implement that strategy and plan. So what I'm suggesting there is, you may be busy now, but you need to be able to make time in your existing schedule for this particular project, which means so much to the business. So we'll hand over. Is there any questions in respect to growing your business in a new environment?
May I suggest, Clinton, that we talk a little bit about how we can help people in the Melton area, the Venture Melton people, by like the mentoring sessions, because I believe that Venture Melton's offering them at the moment.
Yes, well there's a very typical request. I need help with social media. Social media is a very popular platform for actually communicating with our customers and to the public at large. So within the SBMS organisation, we have a lot of expertise which specialises in social media. And again, social media is a real topic in itself, and there's lots of elements to it, such as website, Facebook, Instagram, etc. So there's lots of key technologies that you need to think about and provide for if you're going to get involved in an effective social media promotion and marketing campaign. So that's one area which we can help you with. The other is in respect to managing the finances. Typically, I find that not all business people are good at managing finances. They're very good at what they do, but they really do need assistance in looking after the financial aspects of it. Coming back to my earlier point about cash flow, I think being able to manage your finances over the next 12 to 18 months is going to be a key success factor in running your business. So that's an area which we could help you with. The other is strategy and planning. And I'm a great proponent of having a strategy, being able to answer the question of why we're doing what we're doing and how we actually going to implement that strategy through a detailed plan. So a lot of what we do as mentors is help businesses put together what we call a goal action plan. So this is really about moving forward, having 5 or 6 key achievements that you want to make in, say, a period of 60 to 90 days, and then implementing that plan and managing the plan. So this is what we typically call our 60 to 90 day goal action plan. So this is another area in which our mentors can really assist you with.
Might I also say sometimes I find, sorry, Peter, do you want to speak?
Yes, Sally. I just thought now that the presentation side's over and it's more into the Q&A session, people should unmute themselves so that they can be more of a free-flowing rather than having to type the questions in. So I just invite everyone to unmute now and join in the conversation. And then you can continue, Sally.
Thank you. I found too that often people just want to have a chat about how it's been to move through into the new COVID and post-COVID, if we ever get to post-COVID environment. So while I think that what Clinton said is really, really important for any business, sometimes it's just about having a chat with somebody about how you're feeling about going through all of that. The blokes in the room are probably all going to go, oh no, not feelings, no. But I found that helps people as well, just to have a chat about those things. And as mentors, we can do that too. Just, how are you traveling? How are you feeling about this? What are the areas that you're feeling most unsure about? And giving you some guidance in those areas as well. Don't you think,
Yeah.
Clinton? Yes?
Yeah, I would add to that. I think that a lot of what we do is motivational, is giving people not only the ideas, but also giving them the confidence and the motivation to actually tackle things that I call are outside the square. So again, this is an important part of, the key elements of any business are innovation, diversification, and differentiation. So this is where thinking outside the square touches on those three elements.
I agree.
I've got one question which I might jump in and people might have a few questions brewing that they want to ask as well. So my question is really just tapping into some of the experience you guys have had mentoring various businesses. Have you seen any standout examples or interesting stories of businesses that have really been able to ride this disruption and recreate themselves and do something that's a bit different and bit special, I guess? Is there anything that stands out from your experience?
Well, there's one client that I have in particular who has a social media marketing business, and this shutdown has been an absolute boom to his business, to the point where he's now about to employ 22 marketers across the country nationally to cater for the demand. So these are the opportunities that are available in situations like this. So it's about understanding what is in need in the marketplace and then providing a solution for that. So I think there has been a number of businesses, and I hate using this word, but have pivoted because, for some reason, the pandemic has meant that they have had to actually close the door to their shop front. So in order to maintain a cash flow and some revenue, they've looked to other ways, such as moving their business online or offering new services such as home delivery.
I agree. I've also got a client who they were in tech support and they've just, again, boom, and everyone's working from home now rather than going to the office and working from, they also had a shop front. And so I think there are some businesses that have come out of this very well, but businesses And even a little business that I have, which is around employment support, we've had to move all our clients online. And for some of our clients, like tradies, for instance, that's been a difficult thing because they want to come and talk to us face to face. But when you explain that in this new world, we just can't do that, it's also a teaching opportunity to say to them, this is how we do business these days. So let's start here and learn how to do this better. We're good at it because we've been doing it for a long time, but this is also the opportunity to teach you how to do it as well. So it does take a little bit longer to do that, but it's been really successful. And I think people appreciate the fact that we're showing them how to operate online, where traditionally they haven't been, they've been very face to face. I can see you nodding, Chris.
Another area too that always prompts plenty of discussion is those businesses that are in a price sensitive competitive area, and tradies are typically in this, and they usually come to me and tell me that it's all about the price. So we typically have a discussion about, it's not so much about the price, but it's the quality of the outcome. But more importantly, it's the customer experience is what counts. And sometimes if the customer doesn't understand what is involved in actually delivering the service they need, then they typically go to price as the only thing that they can determine whether they're going to get a good outcome or not. And typically those people who shop on price are disappointed because, as we all know and have all experienced, you get what you pay for. So it's important, I think, that irrespective whether you're a tradie or you're in a retail business, it's important that you spend time with your customers to have them understand what is involved in actually delivering the need and expectations that they have. And quite often, usually they have an idea of what solution they need, but when you work that through with them, it can be something much more detailed or sometimes more complicated. So, their price expectation is not consistent with what's required to actually deliver a quality outcome from. The classic experience I use to describe this is when people go shopping for a house. Typically, they start with a budget, but they have these, some would say, unrealistic expectations that, you can build a four bedroom, 2-story house with 3 bathrooms for $200,000. Well, if you get a solution that only costs you $200,000, I'm here to tell you that I think you're going to be very disappointed in the longer term. So coming back to the real point I wanted to make is that it's not so much about the price, it's about the quality of the experience that you provide for your customer. And if through your discussions with the customer, while the price is always important, it's actually whether or not the customer perceives they're getting value for money. And sometimes, and this is what some of my tradie clients have proven, that once the customer understands what's required, then there's not so much a focus about the price. It's more about getting a quality outcome.
And the benefits.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yes.
Yeah.
Could we do a bit of a go around and ask the participants what their greatest challenge was coming through COVID? Is that okay, Bruce, to do that? And Peter?
Yeah,
Yes.
give it a go.
Yes, sorry, I'm forgetting you. You're the host.
Anyone want to share something, or maybe something that sparked a question? Sandy, I see you've got yourself unmuted. Maybe you want to start?
I guess there hasn't really been challenges because of COVID for me, but I'm really needing more assistance with the whole social media. There's obviously a lot more people that have online businesses now, so you're competing with a lot more people. And it's just getting the right, whether it's an ad, whether it's the, just normal posts that you're putting on Facebook, Instagram, getting the right customers through that is my challenge. I've actually increased in work because of COVID. More people are shopping online. So it's actually been a positive for me out of this whole thing. But it's more the social media aspects that I'm struggling with. And I know there's opportunity out there, and it's just trying to, slide in there and open up the world.
And I think that's a lot about identifying your market segments and making sure that you're speaking specifically to them, because that old saying in marketing, if you market to everyone, you market to no one.
Yeah.
So I think, I would suggest, Sandy, honestly, mentoring is wonderful. I've had it all my business life. Look up, and there's mentors that are really good at social media. So you can go on to the SBMS website and actually do a search. Is this correct, Clinton? Because I've never done it this way, so I don't want to give you false information, guys. But you can actually do social media. Is that correct? A search for people who that's their strength?
Yes. Yeah, you can get some very targeted research and can be very beneficial in identifying just exactly what your target market is looking for and what their expectations are. So that's always the secret, I believe, to any sort of promotion and marketing, whether it be using social media or just using the print form or your website. I believe the foundation of any promotion and marketing is responding to what I call the 4 typical questions that people want to know about you. That is, who you are, why you do what you do, and how you do it. So this is, take that into a networking situation when people say to you, so what do you do? Then you really need to respond in that manner that tells them about who you are. So it's a little bit of a story about you as a person, why you chose to do what you do. That's important because, usually involves some sort of values. And we're always attracted to other people that share the same values we do. So this is an important component of your promotion and marketing. And then what you do and how you do it. So this is how you do it is really what I call your customer service delivery model. So this tells customers how you go about delivering solutions. And it's very important for people to understand that. But more importantly, it also tells them what's involved in meeting their needs and expectations in respect to the solution.
Yeah, I must have, sorry, Clinton.
No, go on.
When I have posted on places like Instagram, when I actually do the operation of what I do, and that's making products through laser, when I'm actually videoing them and posting them, I get a greater response. They're seeing behind the scenes how things are made.
That's right, and that's why it's in, I think one of the benefits of this current situation is that we've moved to more visual presentation, i.e. virtual meetings, etc. And what that allows is for people to see who you are. So that it actually puts a face to the business and to the person that they're dealing with. So I think virtual meetings are great.
We've all learnt to love them, Clinton. We've had to, haven't we? It's just the way things are these days. But I agree with Clinton. I think it's really important for your clients and customers to be able to see who you are. And there are some really great examples in the business world of, you know, getting behind the scenes and seeing why people are doing what they're doing, not necessarily just how. And I actually have a really good template, which I'm wondering, Peter and Bruce, if I send it through to you, and it kind of allows you just to fill in the blanks about what Clinton was talking about, just to get you started. Of course, you can change that along the way, but it just helps people to bring that together and start to tell their story a bit more. Is that okay, guys, to do that? You happy?
Yeah, sure. Sally, that'd be great. We do an email to participants after this presentation. So
Okay.
to add that in, if you send it to me, I'm happy to distribute it to everyone.
Okay. And look, guys, if it doesn't help or you don't think that you need it, you know, that's fine. But it just, I know with me, it helped me actually get started to telling that story and working it out. So I'll dig it out of my files and get it across to Peter to distribute to you. That's great. Louise, you've got a child there. Is that... You're on mute. How are you?
I do it. He's 2 and my daughter's 1.
Oh, wow. So you're really
and my
busy.
daughter's having a sleep at the moment, so I'm loving it.
Isn't it lovely to have a break?
It is good.
I remember the days.
Yeah, so some of the challenges I've had is I had to pivot my business from being basically I did catering from home, and then I did fresh fruit. I've started to launch my fresh fruit boxes, which I deliver to people's homes. So today all my advertising went out to, we've got quite a few retirement villages around us here. The challenge I've had there is obviously they don't have the internet. So the website I've built sort of has become my cash register. So they ring me, I put the order through for them. I still process it on my end how I normally would, but they don't have the facilities to do it online, or they don't have the know-how. So that's come out today. So we'll see how that goes. So that's where I'm at with the boxes, but quite a few people have asked me to bring some food back. So this week we'll be launching fresh pasta. And the way we've gotten around the whole COVID thing is I'm going to have a box out the front of my house. So when people come to pick it up, I'll run it out, put it in there. I'll stand behind the front door, and obviously I can see them come pick it up. So I know that the food's not just sitting at the front of my house sort of thing. So that's how we've worked around that. I have the same sort of struggles with social media myself. And I think mainly the video thing is huge at the moment. So if I post a video, yep, it goes everywhere. People love it. If I'm just going to say something, then people are sort of like, oh yeah, it's just another food picture, like, oh well, kind of scenario. But that's sort of where I'm at the moment with everything. I think the advice that you gave earlier on the finances and managing that over the next 18 months is definitely going to be really quite difficult, to be honest, because I think every week things are changing. You just don't know where you're really going. Like, as much as you can have a plan in place, like now things are in lockdown. So I had a retirement village who, so I set up with 8, and then one of them called me today and said, we're not actually going to accept any deliveries. So we're not going to be able to do it. I was like, oh, okay, well then that is what it is. I think the next 18 months are just sort of going to be a struggle for everyone, basically.
I think you're right, but look at the work that you've done and how I'll use that word because I like it, Clinton, pivot. You've pivoted your business and adapted to the change. So whatever's coming, I'm really confident, Louise, you're going to be able to do that. I heard your pitch. You are going to be able to do that. I know that for certain.
I hope you're right.
And that was a great story. Both yours and Sandy's have been great stories. Randy, you are next on my hit list. You need to unmute. How are you?
I actually do get counsel as well. So my work hasn't really been disrupted, but we've gotten a really great opportunity to check in with businesses around the city, really, and get to hear these great stories, you know, as well as difficult ones as well. So yeah, so it's really interesting to be able to hear what you guys are able to provide businesses as well, because we've been, you know, saying a lot to promoting a lot about, you know, getting mentors and how important that is right now for businesses that are really kind of just stuck. And like you said, I think, Sally, just having the opportunity to connect in and just talk about how things are going, because we've never been here before, you know. So yeah.
I agree. All right, well, I'm going to skip over the next one because on my screen, that's Peter. And we've spoken to Sandy. So Elizabeth, how are you? Are you there? Perhaps not. We might jump to Michael and come back to Elizabeth. How are you going, Michael?
Yeah, interesting times. I've actually spoken to Peter just recently as well, and my business is, we're predominantly a video production, but we're in the wedding industry, and the wedding industry is getting absolutely decimated with postponements, and now we're sort of hitting the second wave of uncertainty with October, November weddings. Not sure. We've just had this week another 3 couples sort of push out their weddings. So yeah, this hasn't been a pleasant experience for us, and I think with a lot of the stress and anxiety that we've felt as a business, I mean, our business tends to be seasonal anyway, so we're used to sort of scrimping when it needs to, when we need to rein it in and spend when we need to spend. So we're okay in that front, but a little bit of clarity and, I suppose, foresight and looking into the future of where we need to go short term, but also long term. I've been in the game for nearly 20 years, and 90% of my business is weddings, but more high end. We do some corporate work, but I tell you what, I wished I had started the corporate work a lot earlier than having to get back into that side of the business right now, because that's where I think I need to push that direction. Yeah, so yeah, at the moment I feel like I'm in a bit of a cloudy setting with so much unknown with my wedding side of things, and potentially moving in a different direction. But yeah, just need a little bit of clarity with all of that. I've spoken to Clinton. I've set something up with Clinton tomorrow, actually.
Excellent. That's fantastic. That's great to hear. And I think too, what you've explained is a really good example of putting too many of our eggs into one basket. And I know that I did that in one of my businesses. I had a big contract with Department of Defence, and it ended up just absorbing so much of my time that I let other things go. But of course, funding changes, and then all of a sudden, where you're used to getting the majority of your income from, all of a sudden it kind of disappears, and you've got to suddenly say, oh, I wish I'd built up that side of my business a bit more, or that side. So I think it's probably a really good opportunity, as you've already worked out, to look at what else you can do and then come back to those high-end weddings when things open up again a bit more. And also I'd like to congratulate you on being so brave and coming forward and saying that, because I think that it gives us a really good example of what we need to do. Would you not agree, Clinton?
Absolutely. You know, it comes back to those 3 key elements of success of, you know, the one that we've just touched on is diversity. So the importance of having, you know, more than one string in the bow. And again, it's about looking at those opportunities that are outside the traditional way you do business. So I'd suggest to Michael, hold that thought on the corporate, and we'll talk more about that tomorrow.
Good idea.
And well done, Michael. What about the other guys? Galaxy S8. Hello.
Actually, Sally, we're probably getting to the end of it. It's a good juncture. I think the fact that we've managed to link up Michael with Clinton, I think that's a pretty good example of the sort of discussions that you can have with the mentors. So so I guess it's just left with me to thank and wrap up you. So if anyone in this group would like to book Clinton, Sally Ann, or any of the 170 small business mentor service mentors, head to the Venture Melton website and book them in for the free consultation and see where that leads, because you might be surprised at actually where it ends up. We will send out an email with links, as we said, with the webinar and including the template that Sally agreed to send out. Also, you can find a range of information to help your business on that website as well. Don't forget to join us in a few weeks' time at the next Venture Melton Business Network Seminar, where will be presented by Michael Kirby from XO Accounting, who is a Business Awards winner and a local network member, and find out how he increased referrals to his business from 5% to 75%. So all should be, I look forward to seeing you all next week, and tell your friends, and details will be sent directly to your inbox soon, or visit the website. And thank you very much for joining us. Have a great day.
Thanks, everyone.
Yeah, thank you very much for the opportunity. I've really enjoyed it. Talk to you soon.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Yeah.